Hey, Nerd Herders, Dynasty Nerds, and we're back again this week talking Dynasty rookie picks and what their true value is. And we're going to dive into the history of all rookie ADP in our draft classes,
including maybe some games.
Yeah, and we look at the past 5 years, and some of those picks were awesome, and then I have to remember how bad some of my picks were.
So we're going to find out, are rookie picks the most overrated assets in Dynasty fantasy football? Let's find out.
Could be.
Ready, set, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And he's Garret Price.
How's it going?
It's going well. We're here talking Dynasty Fantasy Football right before we get into our division breakdowns.
That means we're getting close.
We're getting real close. This year, we're going to have a little bit of an intermission in about like 3 weeks, so probably right before we get to the last one, unless we do a bonus show, which I don't think we'll be able to do. Usually we do this show right after the division breakdowns. But this year, we've been lucky enough, we've been invited to the Dayton Wright-Patterson Air Force Base by Colonel Chris Meeker to come out and do a live show for the troops.
That'll be awesome.
So we are on August 23rd. We're going to record on the 24th. So to come out we'll probably get out like that Sunday or Monday. Just get the show out early. We do our annual, who our top players are for the year that we predict, who our top 12s are, some of our sleeper guys who we think we can kind of do good, kind of like our redraft show, basically. We're going to do that for the troops. A couple thousand troops at the Air Force Base. We're going to do a live show. So feel really blessed and privileged to be in that position. Shout out to the Colonel, Chris Meeker, for having us down. And I'm sure we'll probably have him on the show and, maybe somebody else, and we'll talk. Maybe a little bit longer show, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a breaking format, but it's going to be a good time.
We're going to have to bring a camera person with us to videotape, so we do a YouTube show on it as well. But it's exciting. So
not just Garrett's hands.
That's how the camera works.
So maybe we'll get these all in beforehand, because that'd be like the August 24th show. So maybe we'll get them all in. We'll try.
We'll see.
We're gonna be up against it, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna make it work.
So our last show before that, today we're talking draft picks, like the value of draft picks. Our friend Ryan McDowell sent us over DLF's ADP for rookie ADP for the last 5 years. So we have that. We're gonna use that. ADP. So shout out to Ryan McDowell and the DLF crew for getting that over to us and allowing us to use that on our show. And we're going to talk about draft picks as a whole, like what their real value is. If you listen to the show for a long time, I'm somebody who has had a stern belief that if you're a contender, you always trade your first round picks, like always, and try and compete. And a lot of people laugh, but I'm always contending year in, year out. So we're going to dive in and see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And if most people know, I'm usually right about most things I do, so we'll find out.
So we'll find out.
But before we get into all that conversation, I got to tell you about our friends at Underdog. As the season's starting to get a little bit closer here, a little over a month away, that best ball mania is starting to fill up. The small puppy's starting to fill up. And which is an end-all be-all, because when the season starts, guess what? More best ball. And Underdog, that's what it is. It's the easiest place to play fantasy football. This is a place where you can go in, you draft a football team, compete for $3 million, or compete for $100 versus your friends. Right. It's that simple on Underdog. You go in, you draft a team. That's it. That's all it is. You enjoy drafting a team, and they set the lineup for you week in, week out. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year, they win the cash. Sometimes it's second place gets paid out as well. If you're in Best Ball Mania, a whole bunch of people get paid out.
Heck yeah.
But that's the biggest chance to get on there. And it's my favorite place to play. Underdog sent us this really sweet neon sign. We're going to probably get up in the studio here. It looks super sweet. It's real nice.
I love that you're pointing to it, but people definitely cannot see it.
Definitely not.
It's still super sweet. You'll eventually see it under our Dynasty Nerds neon light probably over there. So, Underdog, man. I've been using it for years. We all love doing drafts, right? Yes. It's the whole reason I even played redraft. It's just so I could draft a team for 1 year. And Best Ball and Underdog gives you the opportunity to do just that with no lineup set in, no worry free. You put it in. You still check it every week to see where you stand if you want to, or if not, check it at the end of the year. It's that easy.
Check it at the end of the year.
once you do one Underdog draft, I promise you're going to want to do more. And I go back to Underdog since they were draft. That's how long I go back doing those. So I absolutely love the app. And right now, if you go download the app, Underdog Fantasy, and you sign up at underdogfantasy.com or buy the app and use the promo code NERDS, Underdog will double your deposit up to $100.
Nice.
That's Underdog Fantasy promo code NERDS. Get your shot at that $15 million in Best Ball Mania 4. It's going to be an absolute privilege. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Yeah. We got
Marshmallows, chocolate,
and graham crackers.
marshmallows, Reese cups.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Regular s'mores suck. I'm not going to lie. They
Reese
suck.
Cup s'mores are way better.
Way better.
I have not tried those.
What?
Yeah.
You've never done with a Reese Cup?
No.
So much better.
Well, go to Underdog. You'll be able to afford all the Reese cups that you can afford. And if you do, and
You can afford.
Which is exactly how many you can afford right now.
You can afford.
but if you win,
You can afford more.
dude, $3 million you can
Yes.
buy a
You
lot.
can afford or a Chevy.
Probably buy like 30 million Reese cups. You're like Uncle Scrooge and chocolate, peanut butter.
Fantastic.
But if you use the promo code NERDS, you get a free year of the Dynasty Nerds Nerd Herd. See this Nerd Herd sign if you're on YouTube? You get a free year of this. And this is a perfect time to have it. Now, the Nerd Herd, what's great about the Nerd Herd is it's all year long, but this Nerd Herd is going to give you access for now, the Dynasty Nerds app, get you into all the tools that we have in the app. The league analyzer is huge, the trade calculator, send trades within your league, set your own rankings inside the app too, and have the app run off your own rankings as well. You get access after the season to the Dynasty Nerds film room, the nerd scores, all that, so you can study these rookies. Everything you need to dominate your Dynasty league, you get for as little as $10. All you have to do is deposit $10. They're going to give you another $10, and you're going to get a free year subscription to the Nerd Herd. All you got to use is that promo code NERDS. And if you're already a Nerd Herd member, we're going to send you a free shirt. So it's a win-win. Now, let's talk draft picks, shall we?
Let's do it.
So the question here, guys, comes down to is, what is the worth of draft picks? I have always said, and I'll say this as a caveat, like I feel like draft picks are the most overrated thing in Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Right.
It's also because it's the most coveted thing in Dynasty Fantasy Football. It gets so crazy where people would literally give up good assets for draft picks. People will trade
to get another good asset.
Yes. People will trade DJ Moore for a first round pick at 25 years old. Things like that literally blow my mind. And I know the caveat is your best chance to get Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Justin Herbert, Pat Mahomes, that's via the draft picks.
Grass is always greener, right?
So always greener. Now, for the most part, though, you have to get a lot of those players, unless like some of the players will fall, like the Jalen Waddles, the Chris Olaves, the Amon-Ra St. Browns. They'll fall a little bit. To get those guys, you usually have to have a high draft pick because those guys usually go pretty high. And we're going to go back to these last 5 years, and we'll even take a peek back in 2014 ADP as well. Take a look, even go back a little bit farther to see like where the value is. Because my belief is either you're in or you're out. We talk about it in Dynasty all the time. The last place you want to be is stuck in the middle. It's the worst place to be. That's why we have the league analyzer for the Dynasty Nerds app, so you can see exactly where you stand. Because I've said this before, but if you're new to the show, it's so easy to get tricked to be stuck in the middle because you finish year in, year out where you almost made the playoffs or you just made the playoffs, but you lose all the time. Why do I lose all the time? Because you're a middle-in team. You're not a true contender. And you feel like you're like, even though you're in the middle, you have a chance because all these bad teams that are doing it right always are in the bottom. And the good teams are in the top. So you're like kind of stuck in the middle there. And if you're rebuilding, you want to have draft picks. So like if you're in the middle and you're blowing up, blow it all up. Get those high draft picks. Trade every asset you have for more draft picks because the more draft picks you have, the more bullets you have in the gun to go take a shot at these superstars. And you trust me, after we go through all this ADP, you want a lot of shots because there's going to be a lot of misses, right? The target you're shooting at is really far away. And this target you're shooting at is the stud players. And when I say stud players, you're really hoping to get a top 12 player at their position. Right. That's the home run. At receiver, if you get a wide receiver 2, I consider that a home run as well. If you get a wide receiver 3, nice shot. Hey man, nice shot. So
do you even know what we're talking about? No.
But I can tell by the looks on your faces that it was like an inside joke that I wasn't going to get.
If you watch the movie Demon Knight, It's the first song in the beginning. It's a good movie. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, horror movie. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I haven't seen it, but I know
What?
the song.
Came out in the 90s. Good stuff. So the thing is, like, you want to have a lot of shots at these draft picks. The opposite is if you're a contender. If you're a contender, you have one goal and one goal only, which is all our goal in the end, but you want to win a championship. Right?
Yep.
Your first round pick is the number one asset you're going to have because you're not getting up any players on your roster, so you're not depleting, and you can get good players. There's windows where you can get DJ Moores. You can always get an aged veteran right now. You know, if you give a first, a second, some leagues, not all leagues, you'll probably get like a Stephon Diggs. If you give up a first right now, you can easily get a Mike Evans. You can if you give a first and a second, you might be able to get a Chris Godwin. There's always players out there that are a little bit older that you can get. Running backs especially as well, that you can always go out there and acquire these players. And you're always like, well, I don't give my first round pick. I'm missing out studs. That is not the case. That is not the case whatsoever. And we have ADP here to kind of talk about some of these players and their value. So I don't know where you guys stand and how you guys treat your draft picks. I always talk about this all the time on my show. Where like, I am consistently, I don't have any of my second round picks, any of my third round picks. And a lot of times, guys, I don't have my first round picks because a lot of my teams are contenders. And a lot of my teams stay contenders that way too because I'm constantly trading the next year pick for another player to to take the place of the player that just retired or that's no longer good. Right. Okay, I'll get a new one. Yep. And sell at the right time too and make it and buy in values. Like that's what we do in season, off season. We're trying to find values, good buys, good sells. The game of Dynasty is simple when you really break it down. It comes into three categories. And it's how we build this show, and it's how we built Dynasty Nerds as a whole over the last 10 years. Who to buy, who to sell, who to draft. That's Dynasty. That's the most important. Mm-hmm. That's the only, if you're breaking it down, that's the only information that matters. Everything else is nice and fluff. That's all that matters. And that's all we focus on here. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Right.
So for me, when I'm a contender, if my best asset that's going to be the best return, and most likely better than, probably I'd say 8 out of 10 times, what I get return is way better than what I would draft. I'm doing that 100% of the time.
I'll put a small caveat in this because one thing that I have seen happen is sometimes we do fall in love with winning a championship, which we should. That's the ultimate goal. But sometimes we acquire players that don't really give us that much of an upgrade. Like, you acquire a receiver, but the receivers you had were very good. So you only grew in value a point or a point and a half. So that is the one like caveat I'll put on this is make sure that it's actually somebody that is going to bring value to your team and not just, I have 5 really good receivers. I don't need all of those receivers, but now I put myself in the hole for next year. So that is the small caveat, even though I do 100%
That's a
agree.
Huge caveat.
Yeah,
I would never do that.
Well, I've seen people do that for the just in case. And yes, you need just in case guys, but those are second and third round picks you give up for the just in cases. Not your first round pick.
Yeah, or wait until it's more than a just in case. Wait until there is an injury at that position and then replenish. You know what I mean? Like don't have 5 wide receivers and get a 6th or get a 7th.
A big move I usually make, one of the number one moves I usually get my first round pick for. Usually, I'm always trying to find value at first round at receiver. Mm-hmm. But as a contender, usually when I'm giving my first round picks up, my number one trade asset that I usually get is running backs. Because, and I get it, we say sell running backs all the time.
Right.
All the time after that first contract. Which in the whole Dynasty community does feel that way. But when you're a contender, we say this all the time. If you could buy a running back that gives you 2 years of value, which was Zeke 2 years ago. You guys got Zeke for a first round pick. He gave you 2 running back 1 years. If you can get a running back for a first, because even last year, let me go back some of these numbers up here last year. If you can get one of these running backs that are older for a first round pick, it could be like an Aaron Jones, right? You give up Aaron Jones at the beginning of last year. Aaron Jones finished as running back 9. Aaron Jones has started this year. Odds are Aaron Jones will probably be a running back 1 again this year if he's healthy. And if not, he'll be a high-end running back 2. Right. So you're getting 2 years out of a position that we literally only look to get 2 to 4 years out of no matter what for your first round pick. If you use that first round pick and you got 2 to 3 years out of a running back, you feel really good about that because you're going to find out a lot of these players don't give you anything. So if you get a running back 1 year, that's a home run pick if it was a draft pick. But the mindset completely changes if you trade for a veteran. People are like, oh, that's a bad pick. Oh, that's a bad trade because you gave up first. Well, I got 2 years of running back 1 numbers out of this player. There are players out there that you can go out and acquire that can help you. Yes, you're not just going, I'm not saying go trade your first round picks for depth. I'm talking about need. And for the most part, you always need a running back. And even a championship caliber team, for the most part, you have a need, whether it be a tight end, receiver, or running back. You know, a quarterback's gonna be a little bit hard to get, but even right now, you can give up a first probably for Brock Purdy.
And what I meant by that is going out. You know, you mentioned DJ Moore earlier. Going out and getting a DJ Moore, who I really like, but your current wide receiver 3 was Deontay Johnson, so it bumps him to the bench.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a slight better season for Moore? Probably, but is it going to be more than a point and a half difference? Probably not. So at that point, was it really worth giving up your first? Yeah, maybe DJ Moore is worth a first, but is it worth it to you to give up that first? You get what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
I would
For the point and a half that you're getting on top of what you would have gotten from the guy that.
But
you
if I have a dynasty roster and I only have Deontay Johnson, Jalen Waddle, and say Terry McLaurin, or say like Amari Cooper, right? I have Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, and Jalen Waddle. Championship caliber receiving core right there. You know, like, but that's it. I have nobody else. I would give up a first for DJ Moore because then
you're adding depth.
I'm adding depth. Right. I'm adding youth. I'm adding a good player, and I would give up more than obviously. I would give up more than a first for DJ Moore. 2 years ago, you didn't really have to, or last year, you didn't really have to.
Even this year, I'm not sure that you have to give.
Maybe
up
you don't have
first.
to. Oh. So the big thing here is like, okay, you guys are talking about these players are now. Let's look back at these draft classes, Matt. Let's look back. Now it's kind of not fair to, and again, thanks to DLF for their ADP. It's kind of not fair to look at this year's class.
Not at all.
No, you got to go at least 2 years.
So let's go back to, do you want to go back to 2022 or do you want to go back to 2021?
Let's do 22. I think we know enough now where we can start to already see, maybe there's a guy or two that it's still up in the air, but we have a pretty good indication on a lot of the guys.
Matt, do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, 2022.
So let's give DLF's ADP, rookie ADP. Let's give the first round.
All right, first round. Still looks pretty good. Pick 1, Breece Hall. Pick 2, Drake London. Pick 3, Kenneth Walker. Pick 4, Treylon Burks. 5, Jameson Williams. 6, Garrett Wilson.
Which is weird to us because we had Garrett Wilson as a top 3 player.
Right.
And he got drafted in every league I was in, top 3 too. But
7, Chris Olave. 8, Kenny Pickett. 9, James Cook. 10, Sky Moore. 11, Christian Watson. And then 12th, rounding out the first round, is Jahan Dotson.
And remember, this is also a caveat. This is all Superflex tight end premium.
Correct.
Things there. So let's look at, obviously this is only 2 years ago. A lot of these players still have a lot to prove. A lot of people would still give up a first for Jameson Williams. He was, wide receiver 3, number 5 overall ADP wise, but we don't know yet. But he's still young enough to offer the intrigue, right?
Sure, but we've seen nothing.
Nothing out of him.
And he's a player that I like, but we've seen nothing.
Treylon Burks, a player that I like, that I'm still optimistic about. Haven't seen anything with him. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Kenny Pickett worth first round picks. Then you get to pick 9, James Cook, 10, Sky Moore, who I still love and believe in.
Kenneth Walker was pretty high. Let's not poo-poo that. I mean, that's a guy that his value has changed drastically since last year in a lot, like perceived. You know what I mean? That his perceived value has changed.
We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how ADP hasn't dropped too much in Dynasty, though. I think the community still feels pretty good about Kenneth Walker. I still feel really good about Kenneth Walker. Really good.
It's dropped enough to where he was going at the end of round 2, beginning of round 3.
Yeah.
And now he's at the end of round 4. So, I mean, it's dropped enough.
So, again, and those are high picks, right? So the high picks to me really don't matter. Definitely at this point because they're too young, but we'll see if the high picks as we go farther back.
I think you're going to start seeing drastic
9 to 12 is really the range that we're looking at for the first.
Let's say 8 to 12. Those are the final
8 to 12,
right?
9 to 12 would be the final.
So
four.
that would be Kenny Pickett, James Cook, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, and Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, and I like Christian Watson, but it's not for sure. I like Jahan Dotson, not for sure. Sky Moore, not for sure. James Cook, not for sure. You know what I mean? So it's like it's still fresh enough. You're going, oh, okay. There's still mystery there. So this isn't the best example.
No, the farther away from current, The current draft,
The more
that
established
we
it
get,
is.
the more established it is, the more information we have and more we know. So the 2022 draft as a whole is going to be, I think, difficult to, I guess, gauge, but important to put as a baseline.
But even as this baseline, when you look at it, like how many players on there out of all those guys? Let's start. I'm gonna ask you, Garrett, this.
Okay.
I offer you a 24 first. I feel like I'm a contender. It's before the season even starts.
So we're guessing it's probably pick 8 to 12.
Pick 8 to 12.
Okay.
I'm offering you a 24 first, and I offer you a 24 first for James Cook.
I would rather have the 24 first.
I offer you a 24 first for Sky Moore. And we're
I like
Sky Moore
Sky
fans.
Moore a
Me
lot.
too. But it's a tough call, right? You'd
Right.
probably take the first. It's tough for me, though, because I believe him.
Let me come back to that one.
Christian Watson.
I'll take Watson.
I would take Watson as well. Jahan Dotson.
I'll take Dotson.
I would take Dotson as well.
I
Again,
agree.
we are taking both those players on their youth and their upside still. Like almost like their rookie picks.
They haven't
right?
necessarily performed consistently as
flashed.
first round.
Correct.
and seen
Right.
enough good
Enough.
stuff.
Enough to make the value. But still, odds are one of those guys won't be,
Right.
our story will change by the end of the year.
Right.
Matt, do you feel pretty good about that too, is what he said there?
Which part?
He was 50-50 essentially. This is only a year
A year ago.
or a year ago.
Yeah.
And we're already 50-50 at the back end. And
Oh, yeah.
nothing's concrete. It's not like
Correct.
it's Garrett Wilson.
Sorry, I was starting to look down the list a little bit here.
You want to read the second round list? The second round list real quick?
Yeah,
Show the value of second round picks was,
I think this is important that we get through at least the second rounds of these drafts.
and I think second round's important, Matt, because second round pick is where the juice is. Definitely when you offer 2 seconds is where you can get these old running backs.
Right.
You can get for a second round pick, you could easily get Dalvin Cook right now. Easily.
Yep.
You can get James Conner most likely for a second round pick and probably a little bit juice on top. Some people were like, oh wow, second round pick for him. But wait till we go through these years we get the second round picks.
This year, last year especially, does not look that great to me in the second round.
It doesn't look great. It's going to get real ugly the further out we get.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go through it. George Pickens at 13. Jury's still out. Has shown some really good things.
Definitely worth more than a second to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Rashad White.
Yuck.
We'll see what
We'll
the
see.
heck we get. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
see
we'll
what the heck
see.
we get
Yeah,
out of
you're
that.
right. We'll see.
Isaiah Spiller.
That one looks pretty rough.
Haven't seen anything out of him. Malik Willis.
You.
Already been replaced by his own team. Damian Pierce.
Great
well.
value.
Yeah,
Great value.
Very, very good. Desmond Ritter.
We'll see.
We'll see, but
He is the starter at
good
least.
value in Superflex.
Yeah, as of right now, great value.
Yeah.
I mean, because you could probably trade him for more than what you drafted him for, which makes him good value.
Yep. Trey McBride at
Jury's
19. Alec Pierce
I would say also jury's out.
flashed a little bit, nothing, but didn't show anything crazy last year,
Right.
right? Just okay. 21, David Bell.
DOA.
Tried to tell you that.
Might be lucky to make the team this year. 22, Tyler Algier. 23.
For being that late of a pick and giving you a good year, they
Give
did
you a
last year
year.
over 1,000 yards. A solid pick, but again,
One
dead in
year-
the water.
1 year, dead in the water.
Yeah.
That's it. Where was I? 23, John Mechie. Didn't get to see anything out of him last year.
Yeah, we don't know.
So we'll see that he's a totally up in the air on that one. And 24 is Zamir White. Also another guy that we saw little to nothing out of.
We'll see how it pans out.
Yep.
Player we like. So those are second round picks. Now, every second round in every rookie draft will have a couple players that come out and hit. Everyone
Yep.
will.
Oh,
but usually it's literally just a couple. And here, the better picks is Damian Pierce. Desmond Ritter is going to be a better return here. Tyler Algier was a 1 year hit. We don't know. We have Zamir White. Definitely if Josh Jacobs leaves. George Pickens was good. Rashad White's out there, but we don't know. Still,
I think Desmond Ritter is in the we don't know. We think that's a good value just from a superflex perspective, but we still don't know what the heck we're getting out of him.
Yeah, they might be drafting Caleb Williams or Drake May.
Yep.
Was the 12th pick in the 21 draft? Were people really that high on him?
In 22?
Look at who the 12th guy is.
Oh, in 21?
21.
Let me go back.
Ahead of Jalen Waddle. Ahead of Rashad Bateman.
We weren't big on him at all, but people were big on him.
People were big on
Yeah,
him.
that's right where he went. He went like high second.
Oh my God.
In our draft, because remember when I traded up, you're like, oh, he's trading up for Trey Sermon.
Yep.
And I took Michael Carter,
Right.
who's looked good so far in camp in the pass catching ability from Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, dude, people were that high on him. So, so 22. Like, I don't want to sit here and talk about 22 too much because like there's too much unknown still.
There's not enough data yet.
So there's not enough data. And the farther we get back, the more proof is in the pudding, right? So like
Yes.
nothing's molded yet. But like the expiration in 22, the expiration date on that milk is tomorrow.
Yes.
So we will know a lot more by tomorrow, which will be next year. Let's go to 2021 though,
2021.
Matt.
All right.
How about you give us the first round of this draft class? But now, remember, 21 though was a really good class.
It was a good class.
So, and you'll always have those outlier classes every so often. And you might miss on those, but let's get to class.
All right, let's get it. Round 1, 2021. Trevor Lawrence went 1, and followed by Justin Fields. Third, Trey Lance. Fourth, Najee Harris. Fifth, Kyle Pitts. Sixth, Jamar Chase. Wow. I mean,
Great
is
value.
that 2 years in a row? Crazy value at 6? Yeah, Garrett Wilson
Yeah.
in 2022 and in 2021.
And Justin Jefferson's too low the next year.
And Jamar went usually anywhere from 3 to 6 in a lot.
right.
So
Yeah, right. I felt like that was a bit low. 7, Zach Wilson.
maybe.
8, Travis Etienne. 9, Javonte Williams. 10, Devontae Smith. 11, Mac Jones. And 12, Trey Sermon.
Gross.
I can't believe people took Trey Sermon over first round pick Jalen
So
Waddle.
out of the
On this
out of the 12
podcast,
guys,
we poo-pooed on Trey Sermon pretty
So
hard. We had him pretty
much.
low.
out of the 12, we made barfing sounds for Trey Lance. We
Yes.
made barfing sounds for Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
We made barfing sounds for
Trey Lance.
Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon and
Lamb.
Trey Lance,
Yeah. And Mac Jones.
3 barfs.
Would maybe be
Dry heave?
dry heave, I
Yeah.
would say. So
So 25%.
in what's considered a very good draft.
A great class. 25% of those draft picks you're like not happy with. Trey Lance, you had a top 3 pick, and you missed out on Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. You missed out on those guys for Trey Lance. Zach Wilson at 7. You just made a playoffs. Like, oh, I get a good value at quarterback. Miss. You won your championship with Trey Sermon. Hopefully, you have really good depth on a championship team. If you have Mac Jones at 11, you don't feel great about that either. No. So here we are, just a couple years ago, 3 years removed, and like 25% of those picks are for sure you're not happy with, for sure already 3 years in, and then most of those guys are franchise players. We'll see if Javonte can bounce back. Devontae Smith franchise. Chase, Pitts, Najee, Fields, Lawrence, all home run picks.
ETN's the other one that's kind of a little bit up in the air still. We'll have to see.
Most likely, he looked pretty good last year. Still, offense is probably still going to run through him. I feel you still feel good.
Yeah, you're
Here
not
we
upset
are 3
about
years
it.
later. You feel good about it, but still, you haven't got this great return out of
Right.
Travis Etienne.
Right.
And that's the thing too. Even though that we are so the running back life of a running back is usually, like I said, 3 to 4 years. We're going into year 3 of Travis Etienne. You haven't got no great return out of him.
I don't think you can say any of these 3 running backs that you've been thrilled. Najee is the one you've been the happiest with.
Yeah.
But even last year was kind of a disappointing season.
Well, he had the foot injury,
foot
though, too.
injury,
And a bad
yeah.
I think Najee has a huge bounce back. Year.
Oh, I absolutely do.
But
I bought him everywhere.
His first year, he was a top 3 year running back.
He was awesome.
Like automatic, like already a great pick, like
Right.
his rookie year. So out of that first round, so again, if you're a championship contender, this again, we're 50-50 here, right?
Yep.
Pick 9 through 12. Garrett, 9 through 12. 24 firsts for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I would take Javonte.
24 firsts for Devontae Smith.
Take Devontae Smith.
24 firsts for Mac Jones.
I'll take the
Hail to
first.
No.
24 firsts for Trey Sermon.
I'll take the first.
You would take a 6.
Yes, I would take a Dorito. A singular Dorito, not the bag. 1.
Doritos are good.
Yeah.
So
Could you dip it in some cheese sauce?
Ooh, double
Up the
cheese?
cheese.
Woof.
that's the way to go.
That is.
Felt my artery clogged just as we said that.
So championship contender here, you're literally 50-50 here. And same thing, Javonte Williams hasn't given, like, even if you're a contender, like, you liked having him here.
You would pay the first gladly for him, but he hasn't proven it yet.
But if you drafted him, again, you haven't gotten anything out of that yet. So you're a contender, you're trying to win. And that's what I'm saying. You can still draft players as a contender. Most people are under illusion in Dynasty that they're getting somebody and they're going to come in here and help them right away and be a high-end player. For the most part, that does not happen.
especially in year 1.
Almost ever.
Difficult.
You get guys like Jalen Waddle come in and do that.
Sure.
Like Jamar Chase, Justin. You get these guys, but they're outliers, right? So, like, if you drafted Javonte Williams today, you feel good about that.
Well, and in 2021 and 2020 have been 2 of the best draft classes we've had in the past 6-7 years.
They have been 2 of the best draft classes.
Yeah, so we'll see that with the next one too.
Listen, I'll say this. I've been playing Dynasty for 20 years. 2020 and 2021 were two of the best draft classes I've ever seen of all time.
Yep.
So
And there's still misses.
yeah, so I'm going to say that as well. We're kind of in a funny place here to talk about these last 5 years when 2020 and 2021 are literally two of the best draft classes. Not maybe. I think they're the two best draft classes I've ever seen.
The only other one that I can think of that would come close was you mentioned 2014.
2014 was really
And
good.
then-
Wait till we go back to that one too. That's why I brought it up.
2017 with Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon. That was another very good class.
2017 was probably, I think 2017, 2020, and 2021 are the best draft classes I've ever seen. 2017, 2020, 20 ever of all of the last 20 years I've been playing Dynasty.
Yeah.
2014 was also one of the better draft classes I've
fantastic.
ever seen as well. So, and we're going to bring that up as example. So back here, there's one player out of these last four, one player has helped you win a championship. That's Devontae Smith. So 1 out of 4 of those players. Garrett, give us the second round, which the 13th player is a franchise player, but give us the second round of this one of the best draft. Okay, 2021, one of the best three draft classes I've ever seen in 20 years of playing Dynasty. Give us the second round, Garrett.
And to be fair, I don't know of a draft where Jalen Waddle fell to the second. I know on here it happened, but I don't know of one.
We had him. I had Jalen Waddle pretty high. I had him as my third receiver overall.
Yeah, I don't think I rarely saw him go past 10, 11. But for what it's worth, Jalen Waddle at 13, Rashad Bateman at 14, Michael Carter at 15, then Elijah Moore, Terrace Marshall, Pat Freiermuth at 18, 19, Rondale Moore. At 20, my boy, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Home run pick.
What a great value. 21, Kadarius Toney. 22, Kenneth Gainwell. 23, Chuba Hubbard. And 24, Amari Rodgers.
So if I offered you a 24 third-round pick for Chuba Hubbard, would you take it?
Oh, I would much rather have the third.
If I offered you a 24 third-round pick for Kenneth Gainwell, Matt, would you take it?
Hell yeah.
If I offered... That's pretty much it. But if I offer you a 24 second for Terrace Marshall, would you guys take it?
I might take the third. I've never been a Marshall guy. I'm still not a Marshall guy.
I would take a second and try to reboot that one. Yeah.
I would take a second as well. I would not take a second for Elijah Moore. I expect him to have a really big year this year in Cleveland. I would take a second for Michael Carter.
I'd take a second for Amari Rodgers as well.
I would take
a
a fourth for Amari Rodgers. Yeah. Now, I mean, like we said, Jalen Waddle here is
and for I just checked our draft. In our long-standing league, Waddle went 7th overall. So this is a bit of an anomaly that he's going 13th.
Okay, yeah, and you have the draft results from our actual 20-year league on there as well.
Yep.
So
that's what I'm looking at right now.
And those guys do their due diligence.
Let's remove Waddle in all reality. I think more often than not, we were seeing Trey Sermon, Mac Jones fall into the second round more
round.
so than we saw.
In Superflex leagues, Mac Jones was going to back end of the first. Remember,
he was, but I was still seeing Jalen Waddle go ahead of Mac Jones. In most
100% he was going. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. If one of them is going to fall, it's going to be Trey Sermon or Mac Jones. I think more.
And our league's not a Superflex league as well. So even though 7th,
you need to put
all three of those
four
quarterbacks. He would have went right around.
So that would
10.
put him at 11. Yep.
Yeah, right around there. So, but I mean, when you listen to that name, this is one of the best draft classes of all time. To do that, you're going to have some home runs in a second. Amon-Ra St. Brown. You could call it Jalen Waddle in that way. But besides that, you're happy with Pat Freiermuth. You're happy with Elijah Moore.
Maybe. I mean, he really has only flashed his rookie year.
Freiermuth?
No. Elijah.
Okay.
You're happy with what he could be.
You're right. I'm happy with Elijah Moore because I loved his tape so much. We talked him up big time, and he's looked absolutely – he's the number one player in these couple days in Browns camp, but he's also been talked about a ton in the offseason workouts. Right. From a Cleveland source, somebody who literally follows every second of any news of Cleveland Browns information, I'm telling you, Elijah Moore is going to be a factor in this offense.
Oh, I absolutely believe. And I'm not poo-pooing him this year. I'm just saying, if you're a contender,
you don't know.
So far, he gave you a flash at the end of the year's rookie year and absolutely nothing.
He's given you nothing. Right. He's given you nothing. But like when we get the second round pick too, I want to use this as an example as well for if you're not a contender.
Right.
So a contender for first round picks. So I'm talking about a value of picks. I don't want to sit here and just say, oh, what's the value of a first round pick? I want to say there's real value when you're not contender, when you're a bottom 3 team, right? And you offer somebody your second pick and your third round pick. People are like, that's going to be the first pick in the second round. It's almost a first round pick. Those picks are just as bad almost as these high first round picks. those second round picks, when you're that bad of a team, they hold way more weight in people's eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And draft classes.
You're saying from perceived value.
From perceived value.
Yeah.
So you have way more leverage on the players that you can kind of get with these upside kind of players that still offer you youth that you might like. Like you might, if you really like Elijah Moore and you think he's going to take a big step forward at 23 years old, you can go out there and go get him. You know what I mean? So those do, once you get out of the first round, anytime you have an opportunity to get anybody that is under the age of 26 years old, let's say, that offers upside that you feel like you've seen it on the field, and there's like a path there and you could see it, you should jump at that. But we're going to focus on this as a whole, definitely the first round picks, because that's the biggest return you're going to get. But can we say, as one of the best draft classes of all time, from the first to second round, it's about 50-50, right?
For the first and second round?
Combined. Of all the players in here, it's about 50-50.
And maybe even slightly less. Because that second round, it's basically
harsh.
It's basically Amon-Ra and sort of Freiermuth that have actually hit. And we're thinking maybe Elijah Moore does. And
I mean, are you happy with Bateman?
No.
No. You would take a 24 first immediately for Bateman.
I would probably take a second.
Actually, yeah, you would take a second. He went in a second here. So let's say that. So again,
I mean, other than Waddle's the one that we said.
And when you start trading these players for the rounds that you draft them, which is hard to do sometimes, and Rondale Moore offers some upside, but you take a second, a high second for Rondale Moore.
Yeah, I probably would.
Like, you're just regurgitating. Like,
I would take any second for Rondale Moore.
You're just kind of like, you're just redoing the process here, right? Like, you're redoing the process.
Giving yourself another shot at it.
Which is what you'd want to do, right? You want to try and and the earlier you could identify that, which is hard to do in Dynasty, because a lot of people, they get attached to their draft picks. And they do. It's hard, because they want to be right. Like, so many people want to be right with their draft picks. Like when you make these picks in the top 2 rounds, like there's attachment levels there. It's what's and I encourage it. It's what makes Dynasty really fun. So before we get into 2020, Garrett, can you tell us about our friends over at FFPC and how awesome they are and how they've never had a Dynasty League fold in their entire history of existence?
They haven't. That's correct. They have never, ever, 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 ever had a Dynasty League fold. They launched in 2010, so they've been doing it for a minute. That's going on to their 13th year, not had a single league fold. Look, you can get entries of $100. You can get entries that are $5,000. We're talking legitimate do-re-mi that you can win in these leagues. You head over there. Look, at this point, there's not really any orphans left, but in the offseason, early part of it, check those out. They're even doing redraft now. So check them out for some redraft leagues, not just Dynasty, but you can get in on some action this year. They have the FFPC main event, home to the $1 million grand prize and over $5.9 million in total prizes. And then the Fantasy Pros Championship, which is another $1 million grand prize and $6 million in total prizes. So go to myffpc.com and use promo code NERDS. You'll get $25 off your entry. That's promo code NERDS at myffpc.com.
All right.
We got to look at 21 now.
2020. We're in 2020.
Oh, 2020 I meant, yes.
2020. Whew. All right.
Another good draft.
Barbara Walters.
We mentioned 2021, 2020, and 2017 is probably the 3 best draft classes in the last 20 years. And then 2014.
2014.
Is the 4 best draft classes the last 20 years. So this is going to be a pretty good draft class as well.
But there's definitely some misses still.
When we get through this, there's going to be some misses. Now, I would say that this draft class is better than 21.
I would agree with that.
So this could be arguably what we're going to talk about right now. Could be the best rookie class that I've seen in the last 20 years. So we do have to expect these guys to be pretty good for the most part. But let's hear it out. Let's hear the best draft class I've seen in the last 20 years, Matt.
All right. At number 1, CEH, Clyde Edwards.
I'm bust right away.
I'm guilty, and I'm guilty of this. I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I do what I should. I'll never do. I went above the tape and took draft status in my 1-1
landing spot. Yep, all that good stuff.
Well, I'll be guilty of something later, so don't worry.
All right, so number 2, Jonathan Taylor. Number 3, Joe Burrow. Number 4, I can't believe Joe Burrow in a Superflex went that late.
Yeah, well, he was easily our number 1.
I would say most drafts I saw, he went number 1 overall, and then Tua went either somewhere between 2, 3, and 4.
He went usually 2, and then Justin Herbert did not go 3 in every draft. I preached on this podcast hard as heck you have to take Justin Herbert at 3. And people say that was crazy.
You crazy, man.
I would say I still never saw him go below like 7 or 8.
No. Because I traded up. Every
Yeah,
draft
I would
could.
trade up too. Yeah.
So, but let's keep going.
All right. Where was that? Number 4, J.K. Dobbins. Number 5, Cam Akers. Number 6, DeAndre Swift. Number 7, C.D. Lamb. Number 8, Tua Tagovailoa. I kind of
All these years later, he still can't do it.
I kind of said that wrong. Number 9, Jerry Jeudy. Number 10, Justin Jefferson.
Who?
Number 11, Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, that's the one I'm guilty of.
Number 12, Keyshawn Vaughn.
I'll forever blame Ray Garvin for my one Jalen Reagor share that I drafted in one draft because I didn't love his tape. I know, Matt, you didn't either.
I did not.
And I was like, at one draft, I was like, you know what? Let me just get one share because Ray is promising me that this guy's a stud. And Garrett loves him too.
I was in. I bought hook, line, and sinker.
So the greatest draft class I've seen in the last 20 years, I would probably bump Reagor kind of. I'm trying to think who I'd bump out here because I had Justin Herbert in the first round. We had Michael Pittman in the first round in that draft class too, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I think we had T. Higgins too.
Yep.
So we
definitely had T.
we had T. Higgins in our
Or at least close.
in our podcast. We had T. Higgins in the first round. We had Michael Pittman.
We might have had Denzel Mims though in there.
and we had Justin Herbert.
I like Denzel
was on
Mims
the
and Brian
outside.
Edwards were guys we liked. So for as many as we got right, we got some wrong too.
Absolutely.
So let's talk at the top. I don't know. It's kind of hard because I think we had all these guys.
You had Henry Ruggs way up at like 4.
I had Henry Ruggs high. Yep. I had Cam Akers lower.
I think we all had Cam Akers pretty low on this podcast.
So the 1-1 Clyde Edwards-Helaire so far has been a mess, right? Jonathan Taylor has been good for 2 years. Joe Burrow home run. J.K. Dobbins has given you nothing essentially.
Yep.
You know, from
his rookie year was pretty good.
it was decent.
We counting him as something
Half.
or
50%. Cam Akers is 2%.
I can't hold on.
2%.
I can't do half.
His milk.
Now I'm flicking you off. Look at now I'm flicking you off because I got a half. And
I'm completely out on Cam Akers. I'm still not buying Achilles. I don't care that he was a running back 1 the last 4 games of last year. I'm still not buying it. DeAndre Swift is.
can I stick up that other half now
Oh,
that we have
yeah, go
DeAndre
ahead.
Swift? Now that
He gets the other half.
I think DeAndre Swift gets the other half.
But you're still happy to have him, right?
Yeah.
Like you're still happy to have him, but not somebody who's giving you a ton.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, fantastic. Yep, absolutely amazing. Tua,
You feel very good about having
3/4.
yeah. I was gonna say that's like.
No, he's being drafted highly this year and he deserves it. It's only health. That's the only thing for him.
100% only health. Jerry Jeudy
Hasn't given you anything,
hasn't given you much,
but you're very happy to have him.
but flashed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Especially at the end of last year. So I think you're happy to have him. Justin Jefferson.
I think most people are like him.
Super duper whooper.
Shout out to Dynasty Matt.
stud.
Matt O'Hara said he liked him more than Jamar Chase.
More than Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy.
Jamar Chase is next year.
Oh yeah, sorry. He liked him more than Jerry Jeudy. When Jerry Jeudy was really high for a lot of people, Matt
He
said
was the wide receiver too for basically everyone.
Yep.
Jalen Reagor. That's another finger up, and so that's 4 so far that are just bad in this amazing draft class. And then Keyshawn Vaughn at 12 is another one. So I mean that man.
That's 5 that are misses, and
really
some
two
of those are
them-
halves.
2 of them are halves.
One.
So
Really, the only true hits are
Right.
Taylor, Burrow, CeeDee Lamb,
I would say 4
Tua,
misses.
and Justin Jefferson. So there's 5 true hits.
true hits.
And then you have guys like Dobbins, Swift, and Jeudy that are like the
feel
jury's
good
still
about
out.
Yeah, jury's still out, but you feel good.
So, but here, let's go here. But here's the age-old question, right? These guys so far, we know these guys haven't given you anything yet to really compete for a championship, right? For sure. Would you guys take a 24 first for J.K. Dobbins?
Yes. Or no, I want Dobbins.
I would want Dobbins. I believe. I love him.
Oh, Matt's a non-believer.
It's a running
He's
back.
just been so injured.
Yes.
I would probably.
But it was the one big injury. It wasn't. He's not dealt with a lot of like little like reoccurring injuries. It was the one big injury.
He got the knee cleaned up.
Yeah,
So you take 24 first.
I'd take the 24 first.
All right,
I would
DeAndre Swift.
reset it.
Shun the non-believer.
I would take a 24 first for DeAndre Swift.
I would take the first.
I have him in some leagues, and I would take a first for him.
Jerry Jeudy.
I'll take the first.
I would take Judy.
I think I'm going to take Judy.
I would gamble on him still.
Okay.
I still believe I think he's a good enough route runner for me to gamble on him.
Yep.
Hands can be suspect at times, but let's see if we can work through that. But so the best draft class we've seen in a long time, we're talking about 4 flat out misses and
3 up in the airs.
3 up in airs.
Yep.
So that's 7.
That's the first round.
That's the first round. Now,
There's going to be some good players
The
in the
5
second
you
round.
like are absolute studs, and there are some very good ones early in the second.
Yep.
that's the thing. There's some cornerstone players in that first round, like high end round 1 startup players. And there's some here in the second round too.
Yep.
So
let's get through that.
let's get to the second round.
Yeah. Henry Ruggs, 13. Obviously, we're never going to know what Henry Ruggs even would have been.
He was meh when he was there,
Yeah.
and
He made some flash plays, and then
did.
If we were having a couple beers, I have so many jokes to make here, but I would not make jokes about this on a
because
podcast.
he has not had a couple beers.
right. Justin Jefferson at 14, complete stud. 14.
Justin
is-
Herbert.
I mean Justin Herbert. What did I say? Justin
Justin Jefferson, you love him.
Yeah.
we get
Just love him so
$260 million
much.
complete stud.
Yeah, no doubt.
And the fact that he's fallen a little bit in some of these ADP like startups where people are taking, okay, I won't argue it. People would take Jalen Hurts and Burrow ahead of him. I would still take Herbert 3.
So you said you didn't see him lower than 7 in any drafts. Herbert.
Yeah, I
at
don't
the time.
remember any, and it could be revisionist history, but
Matt got him at like 11 and 1.
I got him at 10. I wanted to look it up, so I looked it up real fast. I got him at 10, which was bonkers.
That's the lowest I ever heard him go in any Superflex leagues.
yeah.
So Herbert at 14 here seems low, feels low to all of us. He probably, I felt like I got him at 10, and that was the lowest I saw him.
Nobody was taking Keyshawn Vaughn ahead of Justin Herbert in Superflex leagues.
No, not smart players. 15, Michael Pittman. 16, Denzel Mims. 17, T. Higgins. 18, Brandon Ayuk. 19, Zach Moss. 20, A.J. Dillon. 21, Laviska Shenault. 22, Antonio Gibson. 23, Jordan Love. 24, Brian Edwards. So
Brian
there were
Edwards.
some super studs in that one, and there were some guys that just meh.
This one you also get Jordan or Jalen Hurts in the third. So that was one thing that really then put the chef's kiss on this class.
Jalen Hurts in the third in this draft class really kind of boosted it up there. And I will say, at the time when you left this draft class, even though it was the best of all time, when you left this draft class, like you felt really good through all 24 picks. Like when you walked out at 212 with Brian Edwards at the time, you felt good about it.
You did.
You saw the value in Jordan Love. You liked Antonio Gibson in Washington. He still might offer some upside this time. I never liked Laviska Shenault. I sat here and poo-pooed. I said he was a turd bucket on this show. I did it.
None of us knew how he was gonna win or translate to the NFL and translate at all into fantasy relevance.
Didn't like A.J. Dillon either.
Right.
We did not. And he had some decent-ish, but
A couple spot games, but nothing like you feel good about. Zach Moss done nothing. Ayuk home run, Higgins home run, Mims bust, Pittman nice pick, Ruggs we talked about it, and that's like we're still talking about a couple players, but this is the best draft class of all the last 20 years,
yeah.
in my opinion. So again, it just goes to show you here, like we just went through the best draft class of the last 20 years.
And even at the end there, the end of the first round was Jerry Jeudy, which we're up in the air on. Justin Jefferson, who's an obvious stud. Jalen Reagor, who's a miss, and Keyshawn Vaughn, who's a miss. So that's another 50%, but you could even argue 75% miss.
In the last 4 years, we went through the contenders right here. Every class so far in the recent classes has been 50-50 on players. And 50 of those players have been duds completely, right? They're not even like, maybe like upside. 50% duds, 50% good players.
Spoiler alert, 2019 is the same way.
Okay. So 50-50 of getting a good player. 50-50, and the point here again is if you have a chance to win a championship, are you willing to risk that 50-50?
And even that 50-50 did not help you that first year. Those are just players that we're excited to have on our teams.
Yes.
They didn't necessarily help you win a ship that
Unless it was
season.
Justin Jefferson, but he's a complete outlier.
He was really the only one in there that had the starting caliber season as a rookie.
Yeah. Nobody else was helping you win right away. Now they're helping, and here's the thing. Here's what you got to remember too. When you're a contender, for the most part, you have a decent amount of older players on there because that's how they become contenders. Because that's how your team's molded. So by the time these guys come into their own, you're no longer a contender. And the point of this, and I'll say the point of it as well. I'm gonna say my main point about like this fake like vision we have of these first round picks. We're laying out for you too, but I want to give you a more grand scheme of things too. This is just a proof of the draft picks, but there's a bigger thing on top of that too, which I've said before, but I'll say again at the end of the show. Matt, let's give us 2019.
All right, 2019, first round. Here we go. Josh Jacobs, number 2, Kyler Murray, number 3, David Montgomery, number 4, Miles Sanders, number 5, N'Keal Harry, number 6, DK Metcalf, number 7, TJ Hawkinson, number 8, Paris Campbell, number 9, Darrell Henderson, number 10, AJ Brown, number 11, Dwayne Haskins, RIP, number 12, Deebo Samuel.
So, not a bad draft class.
Nope.
At all. But you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that aren't really that good.
They're not good. Yeah, you're talking N'Keal Harry, Paris Campbell, Darrell Henderson, and obviously Dwayne Haskins. And
to be fair, even though he's gone, he wasn't good when
correct.
He played.
And who was the other guy? David Montgomery?
David Montgomery.
Yeah.
He gave you just a little.
He had that one. He had the running back 4 season, so he did have that
one good
that
year. So I will give him that. That's what I'm saying. Right. He's not that good. We only gave you 1 year. So 5 players. Right. You're talking about almost 50% of the class.
This was a weird year, too, because some of the best players in this class were at the end of the second and the beginning of the third round. Like, towards the end of the second, Marquise Brown, you took. Alexander Madison was at 24. At 25, Deontay Johnson. 27, Terry McLaurin. Like, some of the best players ended up being towards the end.
Daniel Jones went 19. I literally went on a podcast. It was the DTQ Trades thing, and I went on this huge rant. It's when I literally became officially the president of Daniel Jones fan club. Because I sat on this podcast. I said, you have to draft Daniel Jones. You have to.
Yep. Yeah.
And people were telling me I was crazy. I told them you have to. And I was on this podcast. It was like Matthew Berry, Scott Bear, all these big-time analysts, right? Big-time analysts. And I literally stopped the draft. And I said, what are you guys doing? Please explain to me how all of you just passed up Daniel Jones in the first round of a super flex draft. Because I'd already picked, right? And I was like, how have all of you passed up Daniel Jones? How do you think this is okay in a super flex league to draft, like pass up a guy who's drafted in the top 6 of an NFL draft at quarterback? Oh, I don't know. No, what do you mean? Like, it doesn't make it make sense to me. And nobody could. Now, I got lucky that I was right. But and I said, this is why you swing, because there's a 50-50 chance you're going to be right. When you get 50-50, the only players that I'm doing really like 50-50 are quarterbacks every single time.
Yep.
So
and I also looked at Daniel Jones because I saw him come down the list and I saw how low he was. And in our Superflex league, I got him at 10. And I remember the ridicule that I, took on taking him there. Like, I mean, so it is crazy. It's worked out, so it's nice to look back and say, hey, this one worked out. There are going to be times when it doesn't, of course, but you have to take the shot in that format.
Yeah, there'll be Zach Wilson's.
Because of the reward.
Because of the reward.
There'll be Josh Rosen's. There'll be Zach Wilson's, but then there'll be Daniel Jones. There's going to be Justin Herbert's. You know what I mean? Lamar Jackson's. They're going to be there.
Yep.
So let's do what we've done the last time. At number 9, Darrell Henderson or 24 first.
Oh my God.
The first.
Okay.
Hold on. Darrell Henderson or 24 third.
The third.
I would take a 4th.
Or a 4th. Or a 5th. Or a Dorito.
Yeah.
Doritos.
I would take Justin Ross.
I would too. At least he's got a shot of scoring something.
I would take Nyheim Hines.
Oh.
Out for the season, but yeah, probably still.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I would take Nyheim Hines to stash in my IR. Okay. AJ Brown,
Obviously.
no brainer. Dwayne Haskins, not fair.
Right.
Deebo Samuel, you'll take Deebo, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Where we at? 50-50.
Yep.
50-50. Can we get the whole second round so the audience can hear?
Yeah. And once again with that, even though we love AJ Brown and we love Deebo Samuel, they weren't putting up monster numbers that were contributing for your championship team in their first season.
They were not.
By year 2 they were, but not by year 1.
Correct.
All right. At pick 13, Noah Fant. 14, Damian Harris. Number 15, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Pick 16, Andy Isabella. Pick 17, Mecole Hardman. 18, Justice Hill.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yes.
The first 6 picks. So all non-contenders, all people that missed the playoffs in their Dynasty League, every single one of those picks sucks.
They all
Turd
stink.
buckets.
Damian Harris was the best one of that group.
Yep.
That's you
it's not saying
literally
much.
have a giant piece of poo that you're trying to shine into a piece of gold, and when you get to the bottom of it, when you get to the bottom of that turd, it would just end up being a piece of corn.
It's just more turd.
Oh, it's a piece of corn.
Piece of corn. Sorry.
Covered in turd.
It was golden.
Covered in poop.
Big old piece of poopy. Then 19, Daniel Jones. 20, Marquise Brown. 21, Devin Singletary. 22, Hakeem Butler. 23, Irv Smith Jr. And 24, Alexander Madison.
And 25, Deontay Johnson, just to give you
That's right.
a thing there. So, not a bad second half. Of the, like if you're a contender there, you're like, oh, you get paid dirt.
For what it's worth,
Terry
pick
McLaurin.
51, Tony Pollard.
And Terry McLaurin's number 27 too. So there are some gems in this one, and we had McLaurin up in the top end of
Towards
our,
the first.
We had Terry McLaurin like 13
top end of our second
or 12. No, we had him at.
He was like right on the 12th.
He was right
13th
behind Debo.
Yep.
After that, because I love Debo
Seeing some
there.
of these names, I'm feeling very reminiscent about some of these names.
Some of them are, yeah, you look back and you're like, oh, I was somewhat kind of like excited. Like you were somewhat excited about getting Chase Sternberger. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Remember Bryce Love?
Yeah.
Didn't Sternberger just sign back with an NFL team?
He
after
did.
Like a stint in the XFL or something.
Yeah. No. He's back with the team. But
Hunter Renfrow at 47?
remember the Darwin Thompson love?
No.
Oh gosh.
People love Darwin Thompson also because he went to the Chiefs.
So again, it shows you where these value of these draft picks, and we're going again. That's the last 5 years we just gave you. Now, Matt, take us back to one of the best draft classes in the last 20 years in 2014.
2014.
So we're gonna go back 10 years.
So
now.
this is not ADP. This is just a single sampling of a draft that we partook in.
This is our original Dynasty Nerds league that's 20 years old, rookie draft class in 2014. The actual draft picks that went over.
Smash Mouth. It's not that league. I thought it was that league, but then I looked at the names.
Oh, it's Smash
It's
Mouth.
Smash Mouth, which there's some crazy shit that happens in that league. All right.
Those guys are idiots. Definitely back in 2014. So
those guys are idiots. So don't
No, they
take
were.
any of this.
I wish you had our draft class.
Let me see if I can find it real fast.
Yeah. So while you're looking that up, I want to talk. I'll kind of go into that because I might be able to find it too. So the point here is I want to say as well is when you get these draft classes and these rookie picks, everybody gets real excited about them. And when I say all the time, I've said in this podcast, but if you're new to listen, I understand the excitement because you can get these Justin Jeffersons, all these guys, these AJ Browns, these Jalen Waddles, and they are corner pieces. But you're chasing outliers because the odds of you getting that player is so slim for them being available. Not only them being available, but for them to even be the player that you want. Okay, it's easy for us now to sit here and say, "Oh wow, Jalen Waddle at 12 or AJ Brown at 10." That doesn't mean back in 2020 that you felt that way about a player. You could have been easy the person taking Keyshawn Vaughn because you liked him in Tampa Bay. He's a running back, and you need a running back, right? Like,
Right.
You might not think of that now when you hear these names, like, oh, I could have got that player. All those bad players at that time, you might have liked those players too.
all right. So
But hold on.
All right.
Can I finish my thought here?
I
Yeah.
thought you were done.
Don't cut him off, Matt.
Thought you were done.
He would never do that.
Never.
So I say this all the time, and this is the realistic point of it of this process as well. There's only 12 wide receiver ones. There's only 12 running back ones. There's only 12 tight end ones. There's only 12 quarterback ones. Most of those guys are established. You know, when you go back and you look at the wide receiver ones last year, let me just read the list of wide receiver ones last year, and let's see who won't be a wide receiver one this year. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper, Jamar Chase, Christian Kirk. And we're leaving out guys like Cooper Kupp. We're leaving out guys like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, guys that have given. There's always a sneaker in there, you know what I mean, as well. Guys like a Mike Williams could finish wide receiver one. Keenan Allen could finish wide receiver one. Chris Godwin could be. Who takes their place? who takes their place? It's why definitely at the receiver position. That's why I always trade for the running backs with my first round picks, because it's a much more fluid position, right? Look at those guys though, like Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook. Now, of course, some of these guys like a Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs could get into there. A J.K. Dobbins could get in there. A Kenneth Walker, these guys. But those all guys actually sound like could for sure be running back ones, right? Like, who is taking their place? You have to think about where you're at this year and next year. Who's going to take their place? And wide receiver twos win you championships. Running back twos win you championship. And that's a way broader window. But we're all chasing with those draft picks, wide receiver ones, running back ones, tight end ones. The odds of you getting one of those guys is so hard to do because
it is.
Some of these guys as well, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, they've been doing this for 7 years. They've been these high-end guys. 7 years. We don't expect Justin Jefferson. We don't expect CeeDee Lamb. We don't expect Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase. Those are 5 young guys.
They're not going anywhere.
Out. They're not going. You think Garrett Wilson's going anywhere? He's not going anywhere. Where are they? Where are these guys filling in? So when you have an opportunity to trade a first plus for Stephon Diggs, just a first for Devontae Adams might get it done, right? Mm-hmm. You think in a lot of leagues?
I think so.
Tyreek Hill say he's only playing for 2 more years. You think there's not a path to go get Tyreek Hill?
Oh, absolutely.
Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill increases your odds of winning a championship exponentially because they're wide receiver ones. There's only 12 of them. Those 3 are 25% of all of them. And you probably get one of them in one of your leagues.
Right.
You have to use that. You have to use that opportunity. You can't be worried about trading your first, about getting a player that might become one of these guys. When the window that you are in, this brings me to my whole point. The whole point of this show was when you get a championship window, for the most part, I know it's called Dynasty, and everybody thinks they're going to build these teams that win year in and year out. It doesn't happen. I'm playing Dynasty long team. I'm in a shitload of leagues. It does not happen. Okay? When you are in a championship opportunity window, that opportunity window is small. And a lot of it's because of the running back position, honestly. That window is so small. So when you have an opportunity to take a draft pick that we just showed you that is 50-50 at best to become a long-term asset, right, let alone a short-term asset, you jump at that opportunity. You got to get out there and you got to seize that moment. You have to go for the championship. And I say this every couple months, but we play this game for one reason only, to win championships. So for you to sit here and hold on a pick that is 50-50 at best to give you a long-term asset,
let alone any short-term,
is just plain silly.
All right, so I got the 2014 stuff. It is the Smash Mouth one. That's the only one I have.
All right.
But I think the players are still relevant.
Pretty close.
Yep. So first pick, Sammy Watkins. That was the slam dunk of all slam dunks for that 1-1 anyway. He should have gone 1-1. He just never ended up working out, right? 2, Mike Evans. 3, Eric Ebron. 4, Bishop Sankey. 5, Jordan Matthews. Ugh. 6, Brandon Cooks. 7, Calvin Benjamin. Got a couple years out of him. 8, Devontae Adams. 9, Odell Beckham. So that was some back-to-back heat right there. Marquise Lee at 10, Carlos Hyde at 11, and then Devontae Freeman at 12. So that was the first round. Obviously, Mike Evans, huge hit. Brandon Cooks has been a very reliable guy.
That's absolutely a hit.
Devontae Adams, Odell are just monsters. Devontae Freeman was a good player.
He had a 2 or 3 year stretch there that was really good
for some years. So out of what is considered a very good draft class, only 5 guys that really hit long term. Sammy had the first couple seasons that were good, but then the foot stuff he just never got right. Right. So let's get into the second round of this really amazing draft. And this is where it gets ugly. So Terrence West was the 13th
Cleveland
pick.
Browns.
Jeremy Hill, Cody Latimer,
Oh, wow.
Austin Safarian Jenkins, Allen Robinson had some years.
He had some very good years, yeah.
That's a nice pick right there. Dante Moncrief, Johnny Manziel,
Johnny Football.
Jay Samaro, Trey Mason, John Brown,
John Brown had some years.
Blake Bortles, Teddy Bridgewater. So it's basically, who's good in that? Allen Robinson was good. John Brown was okay for a couple of seasons. Teddy was just okay. And
I know the analytics of Dynasty has this, but we can see over the past few years, if it's a top 6 pick, you got about a 66% chance of them being a long-term asset. 50-50 for the second half of the draft. And then in the second round, 20%? We're looking at 2 to 3 picks.
right. It's pretty bad. So
I have our draft order from our original league.
all right, let's hear it. Yeah, you got it.
1-1, Sammy Watkins.
Yep.
1-2, Mike Evans.
All right. Same. So
1-3, Bishop Sankey. Bishop Ranky.
Bishop Ranky.
I talk so much crap about him,
I
too.
know.
Eric Ebron, 1-4. Jordan Matthews, 1-5.
Yeah.
1-6, Brandon Cooks. 1-7, Carlos Hyde. 1-8, Devontae Freeman. 1-9, Odell Beckham. 1-10, Kelvin Benjamin. 1-11, Devontae Adams. 1-12, Terrence West.
So, that's pretty spot on with what I had there. So it is confirmed that those are at least the players involved with the first round, early second round type of guys.
And that's some cornerstone guys in there for a long time. Mike Evans still here 9 years later.
Yeah.
OBJ gave you enough. Brandon Cooks enough.
He had a couple league-winning years.
Yeah, and Devontae Adams obviously still going strong.
Still one of the best.
Yep.
And Sammy Watkins at the time, back in 2014, people were giving up 3 first-round picks for him.
Yes.
Like, we had somebody in our league give up 3 first-round picks to get that 1-1. That's how high of a prospect he was. So the lower-end guys were Devontae Adams and Odell Beckham that were a little bit lower in the draft.
But to get back to your point, those second-round draft picks, they were horrible.
Yeah.
They did not help at all, except for Allen Robinson. John Brown was a guy that, for a second-round pick, is a disappointment, to be honest, but would be considered a hit because he played and was a contributor for a couple of years.
We had James White in our draft, went 2-2.
Yeah. So
Jason Morrow.
Yeah, Jason. James White's a good pick. That's a fantastic second-round draft.
Who's Andre Williams?
You love to hit
the
that.
running back for the Cardinals?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Kadeem
but
Carey.
other than that,
you took
it's
Kadeem Carey.
I know.
He said, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I remember.
Unfortunately, I recall that.
Yes. Other than that, it was a bunch of guys that never helped you. Like the Blake Bortles had a couple of seasons where he did well rushing.
Jeremy Hill for the Bengals.
He had 2 or 3 years there.
2 years there.
Right
Good
after
years.
he was right after
Right.
Giovanni Bernard and right before Joe Mixon.
Right.
But still very limited. That was a great draft class.
Right. So just, I guess, for what it's worth, the second round draft picks, they're hard to rely on. If you're in a rebuild, sure, get as many as you can because you're going to need
bullets in a gun.
You're going to need a lot of shots to hit in that second round. But if you're not rebuilding, please use those second round draft picks, especially because they still seem sexy to get assets that help you win a championship. Those are the little moves that get you over the top.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're rebuilding or reloading, get rid of everything as many draft picks as you can because then you want the 50-50. If you're a contender, use your draft picks to win.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Get the sure thing. Right.
So, and I've been talking about it for years on this podcast. And I do get some slack about it, about not having all my picks, and people laugh. But I make the playoffs. I don't win every league because it's hard to win. It's hard to win.
I truly believe making the playoffs is more skill than luck. 70-30, 80-20, something like that. But I truly believe winning a ship flips those odds on its head.
30-70. Yeah.
30-70. Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's hard because it takes
one bad
player,
week.
One bad week, one big player, one dud from you. DeAndre Hopkins goes out the first play, and you're out. And I don't say this to make it sound like I'm some great player, but I would say in most of my leagues, I make the top 4 playoffs usually in a lot of my leagues where I'm a contender. You know what I mean? I feel good about it. So that's it, man. And that's why we play the game. So I hope that information helps. I hope that gives you a better realization of the true value of that draft picks. Because for you listeners, I just want you to know, like, that's why I always say draft picks are extremely important to rebuilders. But they're also the most overrated thing in all of Dynasty fantasy football. They really are. It's the number one thing that can get you back your return when it comes to trade. It's a deal breaker. So when you see a trade that says, we saw a trade earlier that came through for my high stakes league, Pat Mahomes in a second, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, Anthony Richardson 2 first. Do you want the number one quarterback of all time? Or do you want Amon, who's great, and then 3 risk?
3 unknowns.
It's tough.
I'm still torn on it.
It is.
I'm still torn on it, to be honest.
It's torn. But like, and now you're right. That one's torn. But if anybody ever comes to me and offers me 3 first-round picks for the top guys out, like sure end, long-term assets, like Justin Jefferson. People are like, it would take 3 first-round picks to get Justin Jefferson. I would give you 3 first-round picks tomorrow.
Yeah, and 3 first isn't enough unless one of those is 101 Bijan Robinson this year.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but
if they're just random in the future ones, I don't know where they're landing. Yeah. 3's probably not enough.
Because you're talking 50-50, so you're hoping 1.5. You have a 1.5 odds of you getting 2 guys, or just, and then again goes back to the point.
And just hitting, not necessarily being the top guy.
Right.
The odds of them being top guy are almost 0%. Almost 0%. So there you have it, Nerd. Tune in next week. If you enjoyed that and you enjoy our show, we'd be really grateful if you take this time and leave us a rating and review on the podcast, because it really does help us out. Now that football is really kicking back up, people are looking for new podcasts.
That's right.
That does help us. So if you enjoy our show, you feel like that show is helpful, leave us a rating and review. We greatly appreciate it. We'll be back next week. We're going to dive into our annual division breakdowns. I love this part of the year because it's our one time of the year we get to talk about every single player.
Every player gets talked
and
about.
our take on Dynasty of every single player. So we'll be back next week.
Adios.